Hello there, Earthling. Welcome back to Podcastage. That was super weird. Today I am back with a review of the newish audio interface, the Lewitt Connect 2. If you do want to check it out, it costs about $200. I'll throw some links down below. Full disclosure, this is a loaner unit sent from Lewitt. All of my recording settings will be listed in the doobly-doo as well as the description. And now let's talk about what's in the box. Oh my gosh, you get the audio interface. An approximately 3 foot or 1 meter USB-C to USB-C cable, a USB-C to USB-A adapter, a wee bit of documentation, and some stickers. Then, as far as the build quality, I would say this feels perfectly fine. It does have an all-plastic construction, but it doesn't feel super flimsy. There are no dials or knobs to worry about wobble on, but the inputs and outputs are all fine with nominal amounts of wibble-wobble to them, and yes, that is a scientific term, and whether you care or not, this is assembled in China. Again, scientific term. Now let's walk through all of the controls on the interface. On the top you have 2 selector buttons, one to select the microphone input, a second to select the instrument input. Then you have a custom button which you can adjust in the software. You have another couple of selector buttons, one to select the speakers, another to select the headphones, and then you have a monitor mix selector. At the very top, you have a mute button, which will mute the inputs or the outputs. Then we have the encoder touchpad dial thing, which is how you will adjust the inputs or the outputs level or the mix. And in the center of that, if you press that, you can automatically set your gain for one of the inputs. On the back, you have an XLR input, you have a 48 volts phantom power button, you have a 1/4 inch instrument input, a set of balanced 1/4 inch monitor outputs, a 3.5 millimeter and 1/4 inch headphone output, and a USB-C port. Then for the specs, this has a bit depth of 24-bit and sample rates from 44.1 up to 96 kilohertz, an EIN of -129 dBVA weighted, gain up to 72 decibels, dynamic range of 118 dBA, and here are the other specs if you want to dive into them any more than yep, look at them. Now something else, and please don't be insulted if I speak about this, bread. And headphone amp. Let's talk about headphone amp. The first thing I want to point out is yes, you can use both outputs simultaneously, the 3.5 mil and the 1/4 inch, but both outputs are controlled using the same volume fader, so use that information accordingly. Secondly, as far as the headphone amp power, it had 0 issues with 17 ohm IEMs, the Shure SE215s, with over-ear Rode NTH100s, which are 32 ohms, 0 issues there, got them to uncomfortable listening levels. And even with the Sennheiser HD650s, which are 300 ohms, once you go into settings and switch to high impedance headphone mode, I was able to get these to a painful listening level. I also need to point out that when I was testing the headphones, the mix was 50% computer playback and 50% zero latency monitoring. If you go 100% computer playback, you get a lot more level out of the headphones. Now to really test out the preamps in this interface, I've connected the SM7B directly to the input. There is no Cloudlifter, Fethead, or anything. I have my input gain set at 60 decibels on the clean mode, no compression, no denoiser, and here is how it sounds at this level. I'll shut up so you can hear what kind of noise there is in this recording. But we also have 12 more decibels of gain available, so I have cranked the gain to 72 dB to put this to the test with the SM7B. This is a worst case scenario. I don't think anybody should be doing this. This is crazy. This is a crazy thing to do. And now I'm going to replace the microphone with a 150 ohm resistor to remove the room tone and only let you hear the preamp noise. Next, I have the SM7B running through a mic splitter, then going into the Connect 2, as well as the Focusrite 18i 24th Gen. First thing I want to hear is if there's any kind of difference in tone. Second, I want to hear and see if there's any difference in the gain. These both have digitally controlled gain, and the gain on both of them is set to 60 decibels. I'll have meters up so you can see that. And third, I want to hear if there's any difference in noise performance between the two preamps. So again, I'll replace the 7B with a resistor and let you hear that. I am also a little bit sick in the head, and I want to hear how this thing handles line level. So I'm running the 87 through the Warm Audio 73 EQ, gain at 30 dB, output at 0, so no attenuation, running XLR out into the XLR microphone input. Gain on the Connect 2 is at 0 dB, clean setting, no compression, no limiter, nothing. And we are getting a decent level. It is a little bit dangerous, peaking around -6 dB. And if I get excited, I bet I can clip and distort it, but we have Clipguard. So now, even though this is a little bit hot, hey, not a problem. We shouldn't be clipping. So there you go. That is how this thing handles line level, even though it does not have a dedicated line input. It's not ideal to run preamp into preamp, but it is doable. The first feature that I want to try out is the automatic gain setting, so I'm going to go ahead and click on this. It says go ahead and perform for 10 seconds, and I am going to keep on talking. I don't know if you can hear me in the microphone. I don't think you can, so I may switch to the camera audio, and now my gain is set. It sets the level at 27 decibels, and with this gain setting, I am peaking around -12 dB, which is pretty good, maybe a bit hotter than some pros may want, but very respectable level. Next, I want to hear how well the denoise feature works, so I am going to engage some white noise. That's annoying. Then I'm going to hit the denoise button. The reason I wasn't talking is the software told me to shut up so it could learn the noise profile, and now you can hear how well the software, the denoise plugin, is removing that white noise. Here's how it sounds without the denoise engaged. And now the denoise plugin is engaged again. Does this do a good job removing that white noise, or does it do just a decent job? I also want to offer a quick demo of how the compressor sounds. So here is how the U87 sounds without the compressor engaged. Now here is how the compressor sounds, and you can see around the gain dial, it does show you the amount of gain reduction. Here is how the 87 sounds without the compressor again. And again, here is with the compressor engaged. And if I really wanted to engage the compressor more, I would get closer to the microphone, and you can really see the gain reduction meter kicking in. I did also have to increase my gain to ensure that I was hitting the compressor a decent amount to really demo how this sounds. Now I want to demo one of my favorite features on any interface, and it is called Clipguard. What it does is essentially make sure that you are unable to distort the preamp in the audio interface, so I'm going to go ahead and demo that now. Right now, Clipguard is off, and if I yell into the microphone, it distorts and sounds terrible. But now, when I engage Clipguard, it doesn't allow me to distort, and you can see the amount of gain reduction that is happening. Again, here is how it sounds clipping and distorting. Terrible! But now that is all fixed. Very cool. Now let's do a quick walkthrough of the different tone settings on the Connect 2. You essentially have 3 different options as well as a high pass filter. You have clean, which is neutral, warm, which gives you a boost in the low end and a cut in the higher frequencies, and vivid, which gives you quite a drastic boost in the higher frequencies. And then you have a high pass filter, which begins around 200 Hertz. First, I am right on top of the U87 to exaggerate the proximity effect, and once I engage the high pass filter, here is how it sounds. This is with the high pass filter. Here is how it sounds without the high pass filter, and again, this is with the high pass filter engaged. Now here is how the 87 sounds on the clean setting. Now we have jumped over to warm. You should hear a bit more in the low end, as well as an attenuation in the higher frequencies. And then here is vivid. You should hear a lot more higher frequencies because it has quite a drastic boost. Again, here is how the clean setting sounds. This is the clean or flat setting. Here is how the warm setting sounds on the U87. This is the warm setting. And lastly, we have the vivid setting. Here is how the vivid setting sounds. Also, I love an interface that has a mute button, which this does, so let's hear how that's implemented. I'm gonna swear. I swore, and you heard nothing. Unmuted again. I didn't actually swear. Yes, I did. I swore again. I am such an annoying person. I annoy myself. I grabbed my guitar, and now we can hear how the DI instrument input sounds, and then I will go to an amp sim, and then we'll hear a fullish kind of mix thing. Hi there, welcome back to the conclusion of this video. I certainly did not just record for 10 minutes, only to realize I didn't hit record on the audio. I think this is an absolutely stellar, idiot-proof audio interface, proof being I didn't screw anything up until I just didn't hit record. And that's amazing! And the first thing we'll do is discuss the pros, and number one for me is the metric butt ton of gain that this preamp offers. 72 decibels is bonkers, and I can't imagine any situation where you may need more. Number two for me is Clipguard. I love that feature. I love that I can get really mad. Hey, idiots! How about you hit record next time? And yell into the microphone, and it's not going to distort the preamp. That's incredible. Secondly, or thirdly, you are getting a good sounding microphone input as well as a high Z instrument input, which was lacking on the Connect 6, so that's a huge improvement. I also appreciate the fact that you get a couple of different EQ options with the warm and vivid setting, as well as the 200-ish hertz high pass filter. The fifth pro is this has a mute button, which is something I love, especially if you use this for Discord calls, conference calls, or live streaming. So I could go ahead and get angry and just scream, "Aw, heckin' shoot!" And now nobody heard me swearing. That's great. And the final pro for me is the fact that this interface does offer DSP compression, albeit severely limited. You're not able to adjust it. It is just on or off, but that's a piece of processing that I'm really glad they included. And then as far as cons, the only real complaint or nit that I have to pick is the fact that none of the processing is adjustable. It is just on or off for the compressor, the denoiser, the EQ settings, and the high pass filter. I love tinkering with that stuff, but I understand why they did it. Make it simple, make it easy, and make it idiot-proof so people like me don't screw it up. But I like to tinker, so I need to point that out. Also, this is more of an FYI for you, but I found that the denoise setting functions more as a gate as opposed to a spectral denoise, so it doesn't learn the noise profile and then remove it from all audio. It sets a threshold, and then once you start talking, that noise is still there and it's gonna be at that original level. So that is just an FYI. And I have to include a wish list here, and I include this on pretty much every audio interface. I would love if it had an on-off switch. That would be beautiful. Thank you. I don't know why, but I am on a box. Okay, to conclude the video, let's discuss, would I recommend the Lewitt Connect 2? And the answer is yes and no. First thing I want to point out is I view the Connect 2 as more of a prosumer version of the Elgato Wave XLR because you're getting a second input, which is high Z or instrument. You're getting balanced quarter-inch speaker outputs to run to studio monitors, and you're not just getting 3.5mm headphone out, but you're also getting quarter-inch. So if you were looking at the Elgato Wave XLR, but the severely limited I/O was a drawback for you, then I think the Connect 2 is likely going to resolve that for you. But let's talk more about why I do recommend it. Number one, killer preamp, 72 decibels of gain. That's crazy. Number two, Clipguard is awesome. I wish everything had it so then maybe streamers would stop distorting. That would be awesome. 3, you get an instrument input, which I love because I'm a guitarist. I like DI guitar. 4th, you get great output options with the balanced studio monitor outputs, as well as 2 different types of headphones, which you can use simultaneously. You also gain access to a little bit of processing with the EQ, the high pass filter, the compression, and the denoise. And this offers a mute button, which I love to see, especially if you are going to be using this for Discord calls, live streaming, or conference calls. And then we get to who I wouldn't recommend this for. And first up, if you don't like the touch control system or the fact that you control all of the inputs and outputs through a single encoder dial, this is not for you. You're going to hate it. That's the control system. If you don't like it, look elsewhere. Secondly, if you need more inputs or outputs, or if you need a dedicated line input, this doesn't offer it. But if you just need a microphone input and a quarter-inch high Z instrument input, I think this thing's pretty sweet.